I have some things I would like to read and talk about. So the last live stream that I did of this, it was very interesting, and I am gonna, like I said, I will post the recording to it. It's just a little annoying because I have the full audio of it, but only some video. I'm trying to figure out how to entertain the visual watchers while there's no video. I want this to be somewhat of a Q&A type of situation if you're dealing with grief, medical grief, grief of losing someone, if you don't have a colon like me, if you have IBD, if you had an ostomy bag, if you have a J-pouch, if any of those things relate to you or interest you, if you have questions or whatever about anything, write in the chat. And Sammy says, can you talk about grief related to wasting potential and opportunities or like bad decisions? Of course I can. Of course. Story of my life, Sammy. Yeah, so that's actually a huge topic that's spoken about within chronic illness groups in general, is grieving the future that you once envisioned for yourself, which is kind of a similar thing of what you're saying, I think, of like grieving what could have been, grieving what you thought was going to be. Regret, of making bad decisions, and grieving the, all like when you look back in life and you see all like the choices that you made and you wish you could go back to one and just make a slightly different choice. But the way I personally deal with that, because I go through those thought patterns literally, it used to be daily, if not hourly, and now it's probably weekly. I've gotten myself down a little bit from those thoughts, but it ebbs and flows, with intensity. But I'm someone who, like, I had my colon removed. It's gone. And I'm now working with, functional medicine doctor and being told things that like, I have other diseases that could have been presenting like colitis. So it's just basically, I've just been in a state where I'm questioning, like, did I ever even need to have my colon removed? It happened when I was 18. Like, it's not a helpful thought to have because it's gone. And basically that's kind of where I end up when I start to think that way about like when I'm grieving the loss of my colon, or like if that was a good decision to make, even though it wasn't my decision, or just grieving things that I've done in the past that I feel bad about or feel guilty about. I think it's useful that you feel bad about things that you've done that are bad, maybe, like I don't think people should never feel bad for doing bad things. It's a good thing. It means that you're a good person if you feel bad when you've hurt somebody or have done something bad. I think that's a helpful thing to remind yourself of when you're grieving that stuff, because making bad decisions or wasting potential opportunities or whatever does not mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you've wasted any opportunity. Maybe if you'd taken that opportunity, you'd be exactly where you are right now. Maybe you'd be somewhere entirely different but worse. Maybe you'd be in somewhere entirely different that you don't like. Like, who knows? Like, what we do know is that we've made the decisions that we've made, and we are where we're at now. And you can't go back in time. And yeah, and just keep reminding myself that, because that's really where it ends. And making amends, like if there's anything to make amends for, of course, like that's number one. Doing whatever you can to just move forward and not make those decisions again in the future. It's like, and using it like an opportunity, like, hey, I just realized that I really don't like this thing about myself, or I don't like this thing that I did. I'm not going to do that anymore. Or I'm going to do my best to not do that anymore. And being kind to yourself if you slip up again, and making the next best decision kind of thing. And Mike says, can you talk about accepting chronic pain when you know it's unlikely to ever fully be gone? Yes, I can talk about that. I'm not even going to put on a front like that is an easy thing to do at all. I worry sometimes that my YouTube channel or my meditations come across where I make it seem like it's supposed to be some easy thing, but it's not. I don't feel that way. It's not easy to me. That's why I say it. That's why I practice it constantly, because it's hard. And my way of practicing is by teaching and practicing, teaching, practice. Like, that's my way of hammering it into me. So you're asking someone or yourself to accept the unacceptable, like to accept unacceptable circumstances. People should not have to live in pain 24/7. That's not a good way to live life. It's not living life from experience. Like, you literally are not living life when you are in pain 24/7, because you have a block between you and the rest of the world. You literally have a filter of pain that blocks you from fully interacting with the world around you. And firsthand experience. It ruins relationships. It ruins your life. If you're not aware about it, it can really take a toll on everything. And so when it comes to accepting that horrible situation, my therapist always reminds me of is that accepting does not mean that you like it. And that, because that's what I couldn't get past, is like, how is it possible to accept unacceptable conditions? Nobody should accept a life like this. Nobody should accept feeling like this. Nobody should accept 24/7 pain for decades. Like, that's just not, that shouldn't be acceptable. That's how I feel. And at the same time, there are so many aspects about chronic pain that are ebbing and flowing. And when the pain is the worst, it really does feel like this is how you've always felt and how it's always been. And you're like, damn, I've literally been in pain nonstop for 10 years, 20 years. And at the same time, both things can be true. I have had moments of happiness and joy and connection and feeling good within those time periods where I've been in a lot of chronic pain. Like, chronic pain does not control your entire life. How you physically feel does not control everything. Sometimes it can. And I know that all too well. Like, when you're locked in the hospital on the toilet, like, yes, it controls your whole life. And when you know it's unlikely to ever fully be gone, which is also the boat that I'm in, just cry. Like, cry a lot. That's my tactic. I cry daily, and I just try to make it to the next day and make it to the next moment, because it's not fair. It's not a fair life to be given. It's not fair cards to be dealt. And life isn't fair. And at the same time, that, like, for me personally, I've been dealt this really shitty, literally shitty cards that I've been dealt. At the same time, it's made me who I am, which is like cliche to say, but it's true. I would not be who I am without the illnesses that I face. And it's a part of life, and everyone has their own shit. That's the other thing too, is that, like, we may face chronic pain, but I'm beyond blessed to have the family I have, to have the house, the roof over my head that I have, to have the animals that I have. Like, there's so many other aspects of life besides how you're physically feeling. And it's hard to remember when how you're physically feeling is so loud and angry and painful. When it ever does ease up for even a second, to just focus on those things that are good and are there, and that you forget about because you have a literal block from the pain that you forget about until the pain is gone. Or you don't even notice it's there until the pain is gone, or you have some relief of the pain. Chronic pain management, I would recommend to anyone who's experiencing chronic pain that just won't go away. I avoided it for so many years, but because I didn't want to be on pain medication specifically. But pain clinics, at least where I am, have so many other treatments, like so many other options and things. And acupuncture has been really helpful to me. Obviously, yoga, meditation's really helpful, all that stuff. But chronic pain is definitely a complex thing. Jamie said, I heard that Adyashanti got into it and had to retire because of it. Yeah. What my doctors say about IBD specifically is that my doctor said it is the most complex disease that we know of. But, like, just any complex disease, it is so complex that it does not have one origin because it's that complex. And therefore, it does not have one fix. Like, there's not going to be one magic medication that fixes something that is so complex, that's so emotionally tied, it's tied to, like, every aspect of your life, gut, brain, the vagus nerve, like all this stuff. So yeah, it's tough. It's extremely complex. And that's why it needs a multi-layered approach. It needs Western medicine and Eastern medicine. It needs you to meditate and relax, and it needs you to take your medications from the doctors that stop the inflammation from happening in your gut or from wherever it is. So we need both, like, honestly. And Elena, hello. Thank you for joining. And Kim. Yeah, but then there is also the psychological side and social side of diseases. Absolutely. Like IBS is bad, but people making fun of you and making bad jokes is so gross and discouraging. Connection is important for dealing with pain. Absolutely, Sammy. I have YouTube videos where I talk about this, and there are people who have commented on some of my YouTube videos. If you look through the comments on the more higher viewed videos where I talk about IBD, there's a lot of people who have opened up, a lot of men who have opened up about the social side of having IBD that I, as a woman, was unaware of because other women in here are probably also unaware of. Like, we have stalls when we go to the bathroom. I've always, like, in elementary school, middle school, high school, like, you walk into the bathroom and there are stalls. You know, it's not fully private like it is in other countries, but, like, you know, it's a somewhat private toilet for every person. And I did not know that in a lot of men's bathrooms, even in elementary schools, is all urinals and maybe one stall. And this one person said there was one stall that didn't even have a door on it. And he had IBD as a elementary school kid, you know? His bullies would come in every time he was going to the bathroom and just make fun of him. And, like, it just... horrible things men specifically go through, I think. And I always focused a lot on the female aspect of things because girls never talk about poop. Girls don't poop. Girls don't fart. Like, that's why I kind of talk about this extra, because it's like, yeah, we do. And I'll talk about it. It's fine. But I never, like, guys just always talk about poop and fart. And, like, I never thought it was, like, a weird... or something that guys would make fun of other guys for, but it is. And the bathroom thing is shocking to me. That's horrible that a lot of bathrooms for men don't even give you the option to take a poop. Because I'm assuming you can't in a urinal, so I don't know. It's like somewhat new information to me, and it's disgusting. So yeah, I totally agree that connection is so important for dealing with this, which is why I do what I do and talk about this stuff on YouTube and here. Mike says, this has been the most valuable 10 minutes I've spent listening to you among hours and hours. Wow, that means so much coming from you, Mike. I feel like I'm rambling like crazy, but now I know that this is going good, so thank you. Because you are here. I think you've been at more live sessions than I have somehow. So let me get to reading some of these things that I really wanted to talk about. Okay. This I talked about in my live session today. This passage is where I've gotten this idea from. So this book is Pause, Rest, Be by Octavia Raheem. She says on page 73 here, if you do not walk through the valley, you do not cultivate the capacity to make it to the peak. As you learn to be with your grief, you expand your capacity to be in your joy. If you cannot face your grief, you limit your access to joy. Grief and joy are sacred twins. That is a section that inspires a lot of what I talk about. And it's one of those things, like, I don't know, like, what came first. Like, if I had these thoughts and then read it, or, you know, read it and now I start talking about this. But no, I think it's both, because I remember in the middle of the night, the saying came to me, the heights of your highs are directly related to and affected by the depths of your lows. Like, that just, like, flew into me. I really do think that maybe that was inspired by this, from me reading this, or came to me through, like, around the same time, but those mean the same thing to me. Like, the heights of your highs, like, how good you ever feel, is directly related to and affected by how low you've ever felt. And that's really what this is saying. Grief and joy are sacred twins. As you expand your capacity to feel grief, when you're upset, if you're choking back the tears and you don't let them come out, then the next time something really amazing and happy happens to you, it won't be as easy to let yourself fully feel all that good stuff too. So, you know, it's just kind of living life in a more extreme way, which can seem crazy to some people. You know, like, I will laugh until I cry and cry until I laugh basically every single day. And I think that's living. But yeah, grief and joy, sacred twins. I really enjoy that whole thing. This one is another Octavia Raheem section. How to rest. Rest is sacred. This is her newest book. Rest begins in your mind. I am often asked to give quick tips for squeezing rest into our lives. Here is the thing. Rest does not fit into a bag, purse, backpack, or suitcase. We cannot push and shove it into a place that is already packed to the brim with stuff. Rest will not be confined to a container that we have to sit on, press down, and then forcefully zip close. I rarely answer the give us a quick tip question in the way I sense that the person asking wants. Rest is a process. Rest requires curiosity. It demands creativity. And because many of the institutions and systems informing our lives are built on labor, even exploitation of work and labor, it requires a radical spirit and willingness to find a way to rest, or make one. What I can share is that the best place to start a rest practice is first in your mind. You have to consider things like, what do I believe about rest? What do I believe is true about work? Who modeled work for me, and what did they show and teach me? Who modeled rest for me, and what did they show and teach me? Do I believe that my work is the most valuable thing about me? Do I believe that the greatest value of another is what they can do for me? How they perform, or what they can produce? Do I feel worthy of rest and my own care? In my family of origin or lineage, what was the consequence of resting? Where/how does the impact of that live in my physical body? Compassionate reflection and acceptance of your personal truth is important. As you think, so shall you act. You can apply a simple yet profound reframe. Say this to yourself multiple times a day. I am worthy of rest. Notice how that lands in your heart. Yes, in your heart. Examining the belief structure and the institutions conspiring in favor of your current fatigue, overwhelm, and/or unrested state begins to address both the individual and collective root system that is very much entangled within each of us. So get curious about what and who informs your relationship with rest and work. Untangle yourself from the thoughts that don't serve your well-being and rested self. Start there. So I really love that reading. I think that really speaks well to rest and it speaks to how rest is looked at in our society and how it's a taboo in American society. I'm very jealous of Spain and siestas, if you're over there. But American society never once valued rest, in my experience growing up here. So it's something we have to consciously do now. And Sammy's saying, regarding that point about bullying among men, I've witnessed and experienced things so insane that I can talk about it all day. I'm still recovering from it. I'm so sorry, Sammy. And if you ever do feel like sharing in more detail or anything, if you like search or sort my YouTube videos by views, usually on like the highest viewed like IBD videos, there's quite a few comments there and quite a few long comments from other men, mostly sharing experiences of like being bullied and things like that. And for me, it was really, it's tough to read, but it's also somewhat healing to read, just to know that like there's the comfort that comes in knowing that you're not alone and going through the things that you felt that you were alone and going through. So yeah, I'm really sorry that you've gone through that too. And I know you're not alone, and I hate that even more. It sucks. Why can't people just be nice? Ugh, this makes me so upset. Anyway, everyone here is sending you all the love, Sammy. I'm sorry that you didn't want to type that, but I think the thing about triggers, I've been wanting to make a YouTube video about this for so long, but I feel like I'm walking on eggshells every time I talk about it. So please just have patience with me for a second. Triggers, have been given a bad rep because like with trigger warnings and, oh, I feel triggered and, oh, trigger is bad. Like, it's like you want to run away from triggers, which, yes, obviously like things that bring you back into a place of trauma, like I totally understand that side of it. I really do. I'm not trying to take anything from that. And at the same time, I think they can be so valuable, like so valuable. I think when you are triggered or when a trigger pops up or when something really gets to you and you don't know why, I think it is a clue. It's a really valuable clue. For me, when I get triggered, I write it down. Like, that's what I'm talking about in therapy, at my next therapy appointment, you know, like, because it's like, that's something that, like, I don't want to walk around the world getting triggered all the time. And I do. Like, people talk about the amount, like, if you ever watch TV, anytime you see a Humira commercial, anytime you see any IBD, ulcerative colitis, like, there's so many freaking commercials for all the medications I've ever been on. And it's just like, it's triggering. It genuinely is triggering. And I don't like that. And it makes me feel out of control, you know? And so what I'm doing my best is to just try to manage my triggers, because I'm like, I can't have the whole world change or like not talk about the things that make me upset because they make me upset. And at the same time, it's valid to be triggered by things that that bring up trauma. So I feel both ways about it. And whenever the strength does enter to be able to talk about the triggers, or like when you feel the courage to like type it out, you know, even that I think is a big step. It's a release, you know, it really is a release, because you realize you are not the only one who went through that. Like, and talking about it, for me, it makes me feel better. I've heard other people say that it's not the same. Like, talking about it can make things worse for some people. I've heard that, so you know, I understand that is a thing too. But for me personally, which is all I can really speak to, I just think that the triggers are helpful in the long run, and they suck in the short term. And I guess I'll just leave it there. But I'm really sorry that you went through that, Sammy. I'm so sorry to any and all guys and women who are in here who have been through that, because I'm sure there are many who, you know, don't say it. I know there are. So just know that you're not alone, and you are with others who understand. And I hope that it's a thing that goes away as time goes on. Because the only thing that is absolutely guaranteed if you are going to live as a human is that you're going to poop and you're going to die. So why do we never talk about pooping or dying? That's all I want to know. And Mike says, Lisa now scheduled a siesta. Awesome. To help manage her chronic pain and fatigue. I love that. I should do that. I should schedule siestas into my days. Our favorite in-word, Yung Pueblo. It says, reminder, a sign of growth is being okay with not being okay. And again, if you've been in my live streams before, you have heard me read this section probably hundreds of times at this point. So I'm now going to read it, and then I'm going to talk about why I read this so often. There is an important difference between dwelling in misery and understanding that on the path of healing, things will come up that sometimes cause us to feel the old emotions and patterns that we are working on letting go. There is great power in honoring the reality of our current emotions, not feeding them or making them worse, but simply recognizing that this is what has arisen in this present moment, and that this will also change. When we create this space within ourselves, a space of calmness that is undisturbed by the storm tends to pass more quickly. Practicing such profound honesty within ourselves helps in all facets of internal and external life. There is no real freedom without honesty, and without honesty, there can be no peace of mind. Healing ourselves isn't about constantly feeling bliss. Being attached to bliss is a bondage of its own. Trying to force ourselves to be happy is counterproductive, because it suppresses the sometimes tough reality of the moment, pushing it back within the depths of our being instead of allowing it to arise and release. Healing ourselves is the personal movement we embark on to let go of all the conditioning that limits our freedom. In this journey, there will undoubtedly be moments of bliss and difficulty. Real happiness and wisdom grow from the reality we experience, not from the fleeting moments of bliss that we feel. So I really love that reading. It's really the whole thesis of why I am on Inside Timer, why I exist in healing spaces, is because I have heard far too many teachers and people here preaching that healing and meditation is about healing yourself of all negative things and getting rid of everything negative in your body and getting rid of all ailments. And if you're sick, then you're just not trying hard enough. And good night, Da. Mwah. Thanks for being here. Yeah, there's just a lot of that talk. I won't go too much into my own personal thing right now because I talk about it ad nauseum. Is that the right word? I mean, that made me sound smart. I talk about that a lot on YouTube in case that wasn't the right word. But I was somewhat in a yoga cult, or like a mindset of wellness cultiness. And when I was first trying to heal after getting my colon removed, and I was fully convinced that every single aspect of my illness, every painful thing I've ever felt, every bad thing that's ever happened to me was a direct result of me and the way I was thinking, the way that I behaved, like just my past life, my dreams, like the things I can't even control, like, but it's still my fault. Like it just made it so that every single thing was my fault, is what those teachings, is how I took those teachings in. So ultimately, obviously, that's not helpful because a genetic disease is not your freaking fault. And there are certain aspects that you can control, like you can, control what you put into your body and things like that, which I do. But I was told by one healer that I am sick because I ate my twin in the womb. I was told by somebody else that I was stabbed in the gut in battle in a past life. What are some other ones? I've been told quite a few things that are the reason that I have all the ailments that I have. And I think where I landed at was like, at first I when I first came to all this stuff and like had to have more surgeries because of like actual physical complications with scar tissue and organs and shit. I came to a place where I'm like, these beliefs literally almost killed me because I didn't go to the hospital, because I was like, well, I can heal myself if I just do enough past life regression and listen to the right binaural beats and have the right crystals on me and whatever. And after that, I just kind of almost like renounced everything meditation and yoga because I was like, I feel like it did literally almost just kill me because I almost didn't go to the hospital when I needed to for 10 hours, mind you. And I could have died. So I did die briefly. I'm back. So anyway, after all that, I was just like, this is really dangerous. Like, this isn't just harmful. Like, this could actually hurt people. And that's when I decided to go harder with like Insight Timer and YouTube and with what I talk about here, which is a lot of just finding a sense of acceptance around the pain, finding a sense of peace while feeling pain, and not trying to feel bliss all of the time. And that's what that whole passage really emphasizes to me, is that that's not the point of this. Healing ourselves isn't about constantly feeling bliss. And a lot of the teachers I've had in the past were kind of the belief that like, if you're not blissfully like woo happy all the time, then you're doing something wrong. And you're not trying hard enough. You're not doing enough yoga. You're not meditating enough. You're drinking too much mind-altering substances like coffee, things like that. So, and I'm like, chamomile tea also alters my mind. Is that bad? Like, so I don't know. It's just that section I've wanted to talk about openly, like not in a meditation for a long time. So I'm glad I got that out there. Sammy says, question 3, how do you calm the nervous system continuously when you are suffering continuously? How does yoga/Qigong help you with that? And what else do you do? So calming the nervous system continuously when you're suffering continuously is kind of impossible. Like, so like when your body's in a state of stress, like when I just imagine it like this, like you're just like all bundled like stress and completely like, obviously your nervous system is stressed as well. And the thing that we do at the beginning of this practice is what I do. I exaggerate my inhales, exaggerate the pause, exaggerate my exhales, and exaggerate the pause. Like no matter how long it is, like some days, like my exaggerated inhale is 2 seconds because like I can't breathe deeply because I'm like very anxious, you know, and other days it's like 10 seconds, you know, so whatever it is, just like your breath is your key. Like it's, I know we've had this kind of blinking is the other one, but your breath is one bodily function that can be either automatic or voluntary. And so it's connected to all of the automatic processes in our nervous system. So the breath, if you can voluntarily, if you can notice when you're in that state, that heightened state and suffering and just really stressed and anxious, you can notice how your breath, the quality of your breath, and then bring it down and slow it down. It can just help to communicate to the rest of your nervous system that like, let's calm down a little bit. You know, like I know things are hurting. It doesn't make things stop hurting, but it does let go of that resistance layer a little bit more. That's really how I kind of handle it. And chamomile tea, like literally chamomile tea is my jam. That is the most calming herb. If you can get whole flower, like dried whole flower chamomile tea, that's what I recommend, but it really does help so much. Ashwagandha helps a lot as well for me. I rely a lot on tea and herbs for calming myself. And mushrooms, turkey tail mushroom is great. Cordyceps, reishi, the list goes on. But your second question, you said, how do you deal with appetite problems and how does food relate with healing? And how do you deal with not being able to eat what you want? This I'm going to talk so briefly about. I could talk for 12 hours about food in general. I have a lot of appetite problems right now. I'm currently dealing with them. So unfortunately, the way that I'm dealing with them, per recommendation of my doctor, which he apologized for recommending, is to be drinking Boost nutrition drinks. But I'm severely lactose intolerant, so I've just been drinking Boost and throwing them up and then drinking them and throwing. So it's not been good. So if you can't handle lactose, have Boost. I've been having now Boost plus Zofran, so I don't throw it up. And eggs, you know, like whatever I can tolerate, whatever version of eggs that I can tolerate. Hard-boiled eggs has been the easiest lately. And then as far as stimulating appetite, movement, you know, going for a walk and or doing yoga can help with that. But as I'm sure you know, when you have a stomach problem and like every single food that you eat hurts, eventually no food sounds appetizing because you then associate every food with a different stomach ache. It sucks. I'm not going to pretend it doesn't, but I'm here with you. And it sucks for both of us, for all of us. And Susan says, just getting here, agree about IT. Hi, I have Lyme. Same here, girl. I just found out. Pain, fatigue, heartbreak, and more. I was just talking about how heartbreak can compound everything so intensely. I felt like I'm not healing right or good enough. I'm so sad. Susan, the thing I'm going to say is highlight heartbreak. I'm going to highlight heartbreak right there. Because if you are going through emotional heartbreak on top of physical health issues like frickin' Lyme, which I now know how much of a bitch is personally because I now have it, and the co-infections and all that BS. Heartbreak makes things 8 million times worse. If you are going through any form of personal like tension in your relationships, like it compounds chronic pain unspeakably to a crazy level. I don't know if that's a female thing. I don't know if that's a person thing. I don't know if that's a me thing, but for me, yes, exacerbates. It is just so difficult to go from having help, from having a partner, from having company to nothing. And you're dealing with all this shit, like been there so many times. It sucks. It's the worst. And cry is the only thing I have to say really is cry as much as you need to cry. And whenever you feel the oomph to do so, reach out to some people. reach out to friends, family, loved ones, anyone who makes you feel a little bit less alone. If you don't have people like that come to the top of your head, you can be on like anonymous support groups. You can be in here chatting, but find ways to find connection. Even just going down to your local library, taking a walk downtown, I don't know, just getting out into the world and just seeing what happens, with an open heart whenever you're ready. Obviously, there's no rush. You're going through a lot, so please just be very patient and kind to yourself. Don't add any more stress on top of it. Like, don't be hard on yourself for what you're going through. Like, obviously you're sad, and obviously you don't feel like you're healing right or good enough because you're still in pain. Like, I feel that way. I feel like I'm not healing right or good enough because I'm still like, I feel it bubbling right now. The second this live is over, I'm going to have to run and throw up. Like, it's horrible. Like, I am so sick of throwing up. And I know there's a lot of people who can't like hear things like that. And I'm sorry, but like, this is reality. I throw up like every day and it sucks. And I hate it. I'm so sick of it. And I don't want to cry, but it's not fair. But anyway, all that to say that be really kind to yourself because you're going through so much as it is, and heartbreak makes it a million times worse. Let's see. Leah says, that's so damaging. I'm glad you're here and bringing a lot more nuance to this community. It's so needed. Thank you so much. That's really what I'm trying to do. And just remind other teachers of that too, because I truly, I'm not trying to trash talk any teachers at all. Like, even the teachers that I've had who have said those things to me that have been damaging, like, I have nothing but love for them because I know that they were being honest with what they believed. Like, they truly believed that that was the answer and that was what was going to help me. They were just trying to help. It ended up almost killing me, so I'm pissed a little bit, but both can be true. Like, I understand that they are people who are just blessed with perfect health, who also practice yoga and meditation and have confused correlation and causation and think that they have perfect health because they do yoga and meditation. And now they're like, oh, I can heal everybody by teaching this. And it's just not that simple for most of us. So that's just kind of where I've landed there, where I'm just like, all right, I need to speak this out. And I think it can get through to more teachers too, because I talk about this with other teachers and nobody disagrees with me, They all agree, but it's just so hard to break free from that when you're actually teaching because it's rhetoric that we've been taught at these teacher trainings. Sammy says, as an atheist, I have great mental resistance to that. Totally understandable. I'm not against the metaphysics, but the woo can really get damaging. Couldn't agree more. The gender stereotypes are so bad, for example. Absolutely. Different traditions describing masculine and feminine differently is proof that it's always was bunk. I find a lot of comfort in that as well. Like, when you look into like Hawaiian tradition and like Maori people and things like that, like Indigenous Canadian people have like two spirits people. Like, I love that idea. And like, yeah, America's so like, you're in this box, you're in that box, you're in that box. And now we have perfect boxes and lines that are on our flag and everything. We're perfect. It's so nice. Anyway, I think having a calming routine is good. I'm planning on doing it more. Daily calm. Love it. Sounds phenomenal. Mike says, if this chat was game 7 of the World Series and you were in the last batter on a team down by 3 and the bases are loaded, that sounds like an intense situation. I don't fully understand baseball, but that sounds intense. You knocked it out of the park. Yes. Thank you for hitting every point I needed to hear about for Lisa. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for being here and just for always adding in your wisdom because you have a lot of it to share here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad that this is helpful and I'm always sending you and Lisa my best for real. David, low FODMAP. Awesome. I've heard that is life-changing for so many people. I'm so happy to hear that. Unfortunately, it didn't help me. All of the things that seem to help other people doesn't help me, but low FODMAP diet, I know helps a lot of people if you have IBD. Check that out. And yes, lots of love to Susan. I do all of that. People give suggestions but don't understand. Yes. And that can also be one of the, or annoying things about what you're going through is people giving suggestions but not understanding, or saying like, oh, like I'm so sorry, and like all of them, are you okay? Like, and you're just like, shut up, kind of like, just like reminds you of it, you know? But yeah, I just try to remember that everyone, for the most part, means well. I've come across very few people in life in general who genuinely don't mean well, if any. And even those people that I think were trying to be malicious at the time, like, I could learn new information and maybe what they thought they were doing was not malicious somehow, you know? Like, I'm very open-minded, and I don't think that there are a lot of genuinely bad people in this world. I think the genuinely bad people have... I'm just gonna stop. Never mind. Never mind. Hopefully you get what I was gonna say. There are genuinely bad people, and we'll never know who they are, but they know all of us. Okay, I'm done. Silverback, thanks for being here. Thanks for all the emojis. I hope you're well too. Suzanne says, I think it's deep in Western culture that illness is a moral failing and rest is idleness. Couldn't agree more, Suzanne. Could not agree more. It's a definitely Western thing. All my friends from other countries like do not have that ingrained in them. You know, it's definitely like a thing here. And I guess it is in Ireland too. So yeah. Anyway, thank you, Sammy. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Silverback. There's one last little thing I wanted to read because people have commented on this before. I've read this little prayer from Clarity and Connection by Yung Pueblo. And this is how I will finish up this session today because it's just really sweet. Practice the strengths of earth. Have a giving nature. Be grounded in your purpose and hold firm in times of turbulence. Cultivate the qualities of water. Move through life with gentleness, have access to your power at all times, and flexibility and persistence increase success. Embody the teachings of fire, transmute what you experience into light, be strong enough to have clear boundaries, have an awareness of when you need more fuel, and internalize the values of air. Release your expectations, embrace the constant movement of change. Seeing is not everything, and feeling is essential. So, I will just type Yung Pueblo in the chat, copy and paste that into Google. You'll find his website and all his books. Octavia Raheem was the other readings, and highly recommend both of those authors and all of these books, or any of, if you resonated with any of the things I said today. Yeah, you can reach out to me however you can see or find to reach out to me. Email is the most direct and way I'll see it fastest. I'm also on Instagram. You can find me there just by searching my name and sending a DM, but those don't always come through for whatever reason. And then if you just want to hear me ramble, I almost said rainbow because I said rainbow. I read rainbow nose. If you want to see my rainbow nose ramble on longer, then go to my YouTube channel, and there's a Ruthie Rambles playlist where it's just me rambling about my thoughts on things, and a health history and updates playlist, which is me rambling about my health history and updates. Yeah, well over 200 guided meditations, bunch of yoga classes and all those things. So thank you guys so much. Once again, thanks for writing in the chat. Thanks for the hearts. Thanks just for listening and being here. Even if you don't write in the chat, just thank you for your time. If you heard something that was helpful, then I hope you share that with whoever you feel called to share that with. He always knows when I'm wrapping up. He's like, all right, let's go play now. Okay, we're going to go. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend. And I hope to see you Monday. I think I made it for Monday or Tuesday. I'll see you then. Okay, bye.